It would be the biggest mistake ever if the U.S. didn't take advantage of the Belt and Road Forum that's taking place in a week in Beijing, China. The biggest mistake ever. This event is going to bring together representatives of over 100 nations on this planet, including the direct participation of almost 30 heads of state. And they're going to discuss the greatest project of our generation, the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, so far, there's no indication or announcement that President Trump or other U.S. representatives will attend. But
if we can convince President Trump to take up the offer to join with China and the other nations in the new Silk Road, he can become one of the greatest presidents of the history of the United States.
This initiative, the Belt and Road Initiative, was launched officially by China in 2013. It's a program of mutually beneficial connectivity, of infrastructure, of common development programs. So far, the proposals and works in progress embrace over 60 nations, affecting over 4 billion people, the majority of humanity, with plans for $20 trillion in infrastructure spending. That's 2 or 3 times what would be needed to fully revitalize U.S. infrastructure. It's 20 times the $1 trillion that Trump has called for so far. This is a huge project. These programs, they've got the potential to eliminate poverty on the globe within a generation. Completely and totally eliminate endemic poverty everywhere. Already, over the past few decades, China has seen phenomenal development.
And China really began to feel its oats about that time. And rightfully, they have achieved a lot. They moved 500 million Chinese people out of poverty into middle-class status.
Okay, which is a great thing, great thing. And I met with the president of China at great length in Florida, and we had long, long talks, hours and hours and hours. He's a good man.
China is springing ahead with its own development and working together with its neighbors. Through Chinese investment by the nation, by corporations, and through new financing from institutions like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, the New Development Bank, and the Silk Road Fund, these are mechanisms created since 2013, major projects of enormous scope are made possible.
This is a historic project, as you all know. It is probably the biggest global achievement, which is analogous to reaching out into space and to the moon and to other planets. It's probably the most comprehensive initiative that many nations will be working together on.
So let's take a tour. Starting in Asia, there are 6 development corridors proposed by China for road, rail, water, electricity, communications, along with soft infrastructure such as education, customs standardization, cultural exchange. These corridors are currently underway to varying degrees. Take as an example the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. It's currently under massive construction. It's going to bring 10 gigawatts of electricity to Pakistan. That's enough for millions of people, 10 million people or more. A new port at Gwadar, hundreds of thousands of jobs along the way, just in that construction, and more foreign investment overall into Pakistan than that nation has received in the past couple of decades cumulatively. Consider the ocean. The 21st century maritime Silk Road, including cutting a canal through the Isthmus of Kra in Thailand. This is a huge and necessary project to relieve the overcrowding through the Straits of Malacca and to bring economic opportunity to Thailand and Southeast Asia more generally. This idea, proposed for decades, has real potential to be built within this decade. Reaching to Europe, the Eurasian land bridge carries increasing amounts of rail cargo, with rail departures of freight trains headed west to Europe daily, returning to China with European goods. If we look to Africa, we see the recent opening of the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railroad as just one example of the much-needed development now possible, now happening in Africa, where investment in infrastructure and industry and agriculture are reaching new highs, most of it from China. Moving east, we cross the Bering Strait. We go from Asia into North America, from Russia to Alaska. A land route made possible by this connection will be faster than ship transport, and it allows the region along the way to be developed. The Arctic has immense resources that are currently almost completely inaccessible. Building the necessary infrastructure and the Bering Strait crossing itself will be a major infrastructure achievement. Then, a rebuilt U.S. infrastructure foundation, a network of railways, of roadways, a platform of new high-density power plants, nuclear power, ports, locks, dams, schools, other public buildings, other public works will allow the U.S. to reach a new level of productivity and to have more to contribute to and benefit from the world community. As we move south, there is currently no land transportation from North to South America. You can't drive to South America, not possible. There's a break known as the Darien Gap. Finally getting the construction done and linking this short section of only a few dozen miles will finally connect the Americas as a whole. Also in Central America, new financing, primarily from China, is already making possible a second canal, a second Panama Canal, you might say, with construction and site prep underway currently in Nicaragua. In South America, in the planning stages is the construction of a bi-oceanic corridor, stretching from Peru to Brazil, from the Pacific to the Atlantic, by way of Bolivia. So much of the world is currently working together for aims of common development and a shared future of advancement, of dignity, and of scientific achievement. Will the U.S. join in? We are invited with open arms.
Last but not the least, I want to quote President Xi as saying that China welcomes the United States to participate in cooperation within the Belt and Road framework. Both countries should really seize the opportunities.
Let's accept this invitation. The U.S. of 100 years from now, looking back, will be so glad that we did.